All right, so can a $300 webcam compete with a $60 webcam from the same manufacturer? Well, today I'm going to look at the Razer Kiyo Pro versus the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. The Razer Kiyo Pro, I couldn't resist buying that on Black Friday for $60, and I bought the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra about a year ago from the Razer website for about $300. Let's see if 5 times more price is justified for the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra versus its smaller sibling, the Razer Kiyo Pro. Alright, so this is a side-by-side comparison of both the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra at 1080p 60 and the Razer Kiyo Pro on the right-hand side, just to see how close they look with the normal tuning that I would apply to a web camera with my kind of darker and RGB bluish background behind me, trying to get as accurate as possible in terms of skin tones and everything else. The Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra, Razer Kiyo Pro. Now, one thing to note on the Razer Kiyo Pro, to match framing, because I've got it on the narrow frame actually, because when you go to wider frames it kind of distorts the image a little bit in terms of the sides being rounded. I've actually got it on the narrow framing, so it's around, I think, 85-ish degrees, so I had to zoom in at 12%, so it's exactly 12% digital zoom, just to test the motion, and if there's any motion blur, I will do that now. If there's any difference in terms of speeds of the camera. Okay, so those are my tuned settings. I actually found that the Razer Kiyo Pro, with the different settings and configurations that I made to it, and it wasn't a lot, I just had to kind of compensate for the white balance of my key light, which is around 5500, 6000 kelvins, and, you know, set up kind of some normal things in terms of the camera controls themselves. I'm not going to go through everything. In terms of both of them, I did set up the dark background setting on the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. It looks pretty good, like it's a very crisp and sharp image. I'd have to say though, weirdly, it seems like the dynamic range, the shadows, those things were a bit more to my favor, at least I think on the Razer Kiyo Pro. So I would say the Razer Kiyo Pro is a really good camera. The other thing I would say is the kind of the drop off, the bokeh effect that a lot of times you hear about from the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra at f1.7. I don't think there is a lot there, to be honest, because, you know, it's such a small sensor size and lens stack. It's different than if you were to claim, say, an f1.7 on a full frame camera or even an APS-C framed camera. This one, for example, you're looking at is a Sony with an f1.4 lens, 23 or 24 millimeter. So you can see there's a big difference in terms of bokeh effect when it comes to a larger lens and sensor size. So I think f1.7, I see a lot of those lower f value numbers on smaller camera sensors. It gives you a little bit of background blur. Maybe if you had a super deep background, you'd see it even more, but for a normal room, if you're like streaming in kind of a spare room or a bedroom or those kind of things, I don't think you're getting 5 times or 3 times the camera, in my opinion, unless you really have to have 4K with 30 frames per second. The Razer Kiyo Pro is actually a pretty darn good camera for its price. So hopefully this video helps you out in terms of purchasing decisions. Probably would have been better if I could have got this out before Black Friday when the camera was on sale for $60. But if it does, give me a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you for watching.